So, welcome everyone. We are today having another fantastic session on our live webinars for Gentic. And what a better way to start this session with a topic that is core to Gentic itself, which is the standard agent. And as I will discuss today, so what's about, what are the problems, and what can we do with standard agent? We'll also explore how you can get involved, how you can do some contributions, maybe directly to the repository, or just build your own agents. And for that, I'm joined by a fantastic guest, which is Sohi Rishi. Hi, Rishi.
Hi, Rod. Hi, everyone.
Amazing. So, for those who do not know, Rishi not only is part of the Gentic team, but also he is one of the core contributors to the standard agent. And therefore, there's no one else who is better to ask some questions around it than Rishi. So let's get started. And as a starting point here, Rishi, so why do we need standard agent? I'm sure that these days people, on one side, we have this situation where there are so many libraries, so many things about agents out there. So people hear a lot of things, but at the same time, people do not know what they should be using, where they should start. So why don't you tell us a little bit of why do we need standard agent?
Oh, yeah, sure. Great question. I think I would like to talk about something like mechanical radios or like mechanical clocks. When we were children, like we could take them apart and look inside and then make sense of what was going on. Like you could see cause and effect, and it sparked a sense of curiosity, right? Like, and then I think that's been missing in a lot of the big agent frameworks now. So when you peek inside, you don't really understand much of what's going on. So standard agent is supposed to be that, like the mechanical radio, where you peek inside, you understand what's going on, and it probably lies somewhere between like do it yourself and the big frameworks. And to answer your questions, we do have many big frameworks like LangGraph, crewAI, AutoGen, and very popular ones with a lot of contributions and all that. Uh, but the main reason why we went ahead with Standard Agent is that we felt that most of the frameworks were kind of complex and very opinionated and slightly intimidating. So they raise the barrier of entry when you have a lot of more abstractions and concepts and things that you need to learn, and they introduce a lot of hidden failure modes, and then you abstract away a lot of complexity. So we wanted standard agent to be on the other end of the spectrum, wherein it's simple enough to be understood. You can really read through the codes. It's intuitive. So that is probably why standard agent needs to exist. But I would also like to say one thing, that is, I don't think we are trying to like replace or beat LangGraph here. We're just trying to show that, mostly show people that you might not always need something like LangGraph when you have like states, edges, nodes, and all that, and all the complexity. We're just trying to show that maybe all you might need is like a readable reasoning loop powered by an LLM that can connect to tools. So that's probably why
Hmm.
agent needs to exist.
Yes, and even taking a step back. So, something that I face is that there's a lot of confusion on what is an agent. So, how would you define an agent, Rishi? What is for you an agent?
I would like to probably quote like Sean here, like from his blog, that is, like, you have LLMs which are hard, then you have tools which are hard, then the glue code that sticks to them together, commonly called as agents, need not really be that hard. It's when you look at its core, it's actually very simple, and that's an agent. Like an agent is something that can reason, call tools, and interact with its environment.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yes.
And yeah, that's what I think an agent is now. Yeah.
And under that definition, can the standard agent cover all aspects? So is this something that, for example, if I'm exploring the market and I say, hey, I need to start some development for agents at my company, I do not know what's out there. I just heard about the standard agent. Is this a solution that lets me do all that falls in the agent definition? Or would you say actually standard agent is really strong in these areas, but for these other areas, maybe it's not the best tool or is still being in development and so on?
Yes, I like to start off by answering what is standard agent. So standard agent is just this tiny Python library which is open source and has a composable core, so you can use the components that are provided or you can bring in your own and all that. And standard agent is simple enough to be understood, powerful enough to be used, and at being open, it can be hacked, and we welcome people to hack it. So there are three main design principles. It deliberately tries to be simple. So the code weighs in around less than 1,000 Python lines of code. So it means that you can just get through most of it like in one evening, maybe like a couple of hours. Then we have tried to make it as uh, readable as possible. That's we tried to emphasize on this point when it should be for somebody coming and taking a look at the library, reading the code should be easier than having to go through the docs. And we have tried to lift off the magic as much as possible so that we have not abstracted away any logics. You see what you get. And then because it's composable, you get to swap out reasoners. I'll talk what components we have, but you get to swap out all components. You can have different flavors. You can implement your own and then just plug and play.
Mhm.
And because it's open source, it's for you to take, modify, extend, and like be even replace here. And at its core, standard agent is like four components. That is the LLM. LLM would be its brain, the reasoning strategy, that be like how it thinks, the style in it which it thinks, then the memory, the notepad where it takes notes and helps it get through to its goal, and finally tools, which is how the agent interacts with the world. And yeah, that is standard agent. And to answer your second question, would standard agent be the solution for everything? No, standard agent is the large frameworks, LangFrame and all that. They're very powerful. You have a lot of, I would say, if you want something that's transparent, fully controllable, a library, something that you control, you probably want to use standard agent. If you wanted to like implement a reasoning strategy and see how it performs with other ones, if you wanted to have better understanding, if you wanted to see how an agent works and take a peek inside and try and hack and all that, yeah, standard agent might be where you can start. But if
Mhm.
you want a turnkey solution, I would probably say something with production ready, like say for example an agent dashboard and all that. I would say yeah, maybe yeah, LangGraph would be. So different problems, different tools.
Yes. So you mentioned one thing. One is that one key characteristic of the standard agent it is that it is a very streamlined code base. Is very few lines of code under 1,000 lines. You
Mhm.
were also saying that at the end this is not something that can cover all use cases or can be really like end to end. So if you were, let's say, to categorize, and so here some of these words, some of these terms might be new for our listeners, especially the name of these frameworks that you mentioned. Where will you, let's say, put in which boxes will you put? So here, a standard agent versus something else. For example, they'll say that a framework such as LangGraph, quite popular for those who are working with AI applications. Let's say
Mhm.
this is, let's say, like a kitchen sink, can do everything, but also very cumbersome, maybe a bit confusing and so on. And then the
Mhm.
other way is basically just pure Python or TypeScript or whatever it is, and I build everything from scratch. So from doing everything from zero and having everything, where in this spectrum would the standard agent fall?
Yeah, if you have, yeah, very good question. If you have at one end do everything yourself and the other end you have these complex frameworks, standard agent would be somewhere in the middle on the spectrum, wherein the absolutely you can write this code if you wanted to, but we
Mhm.
have tried to write that for you and make it a bit more easier for you uh, to not have to write that bits of code. And so if I had to place standard agent somewhere on that spectrum, it would be the center, like somewhere towards the middle when of DIY and then complex frameworks. Yes. Does that
Mhm.
answer your
Mhm.
question or did I miss anything?
Yes, so we see how it's somewhere in the middle. Is it doesn't offer everything that LangGraph offers, but at the same time, of course, is here maybe a better choice than just doing everything from scratch. And in that on that line, we have a question for here from one of our community members. And for
Mhm.
everyone who is not part of that, you should come and join us. It's on Discord. So just go to our Agentic website, and there on Discord you can see the link to join as our community. So that way you can here ask us questions and participate in the Agentic community where we talk about agents all day and night. And here, one of the members of the community, Rishi, was mentioning that so this person was looking at the standard agent, and so notice that standard agent shipped with Gentic as a default tool provider. And the question is if it is possible to use standard agent without Gentic. What if I want to use it with my own tools or tool providers?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, yeah, and a very obvious one. and like I'll be very honest with this. So to answer that question, no, standard agent has its own existence outside of Agentic, and it is designed architecturally to be that. Like, so there is separation. So I maybe when I show code, I can show that. Like, so tooling is a separate component, just like how I mentioned, one of the key components. Agentic just happens to be one of them. But you can implement our base class and then ideally have your own flavors of whatever tool you want, like an MCP. You can have your own APIs. You can have your file system tools. You can have yeah, like all of mostly whatever you can imagine. And so I'll also explain why we ship Gentic out of the box with standard agent. That is because, see, standard agent was to dog food our own whole pipeline. We wanted to have a smoke test and then see how Gentic being backend for agents, we wanted to see how an agent would actually use Gentic and how different systems play. So standard agent helped doing that, and we wanted it to integrate with Gentic. And Gentic, when you integrate with Gentic, you get like 1,500 plus more APIs off the go. And so no, you don't have to use Gentic. It's open source. You can fork it, take Gentic out, implement your own tools, and uh, yeah,
Mm.
that's my answer.
So, what is it that anyone who wants to start with the standard agent requires? I imagine one is an API key for an LLM from OpenAI, from Anthropic,
Mhm.
and so on. This is one. The other one is an API key for Gentic, it sounds. What else is necessary?
Yeah, if you go ahead with the way standard agent is now and try and use Gentic with standard agent, which is out of the box, um, you would need an LLM key. So we have provided a light LLM integration. We have Bedrock coming in soon. Like, everybody is welcome to contribute. So what you'd need is just an OpenAI API key, or an Anthropic key, or a Claude key. You just need to put it in the env, and then if you're using Gentic, you would need go on to Gentic, and I can show that in a bit if you want. You go on to Gentic, create, like, add in your API integrations, and then you can just create an agent API key, which you copy paste into the env, or like if you want to configure it, there are other ways to configure it. I can show that too.
Yes. And before we go into the code, because it's very important, so I'd be very curious that we can see some demos on how to get started. But before that, we see a lot of terms thrown around. So of course there are agents, and also here standard agent, and also for example at Agentic we talk a lot about like business agents. So in your mind, Richie, is what are the differences? Are the three of them the same thing, just different marketing terms, or would you see them separately? How you would you see them, and how can you help us understand this visually, mentally?
Oh yeah, sorry, I think I missed one. You mentioned three, so you were asking what's the difference between standard agent and a business agent, and
Yes, and of course, just agents, right? Like people talk about
oh
agents.
yeah,
We also have a standard agent. Also, Agentic, we see the word business agent.
okay, yeah. So standard agent is an open source library that should help you build agents real quick, show you what happens inside, easy to debug, very minimal lines of code, no barrier to entry, not opinionated. So it's a library. Business agents that Gentic talks about is standard agents powered by Gentic and Gentic provided LLMs hosted on our infrastructure that you can interact with. Say you can have agents that say for example, becomes a personal assistant to you. It can manage your Google, Gmail, calendar, suite, and all that. It can also try and work together and like do research if you wanted it to research on news articles and come back with the main points. So you don't have to host it. We host it for you, and you get access to it. And so that would be business agents. So agents in general is a system. If I had to put it really simple, it's a system that interacts with the environment with the tools that it has based on a reasoning or a reasoning strategy or a reasoning ideology that is either fully powered by an LLM or orchestrated in code. So yeah, something that is autonomous that can fade away into the background. Not when you say agents, I believe you mean something with autonomy, something that can fade away in the background. You don't have to constantly babysit it, have it doesn't hold you on a conversation. Maybe something that gives you back a lot of time by doing your things
Mm.
that you don't want to do. Yeah.
Yes, and also on that line, so that you're saying basically, so once a standard agent is Agentic's library, and then here business agent is more like a term, and agents is this umbrella category. But then a question that we're having from the community, it is why the standard agent at all? So we were mentioning, so what makes standard agent unique, but ultimately in theory one can just, let's say, call the uh, OpenAI API. Maybe one can so use another vendor or many tools right now. And something that I see these days is that there is a bit of confusion, or it's a bit unclear. What are the differences between like a chatbot and AI assistant and agent and so on? So I find very valid that people see standard agent and say, hey, can I just use the OpenAI API and then get everything? What can you say to that, Rishi? What will be the argument for using standard agent and not just here calling the LLM directly?
When you call the LLM directly, do you mean just asking it a question and then getting back an answer?
Yes, exactly. So, and then, for example, thinking about tool calling and so on, then I can pass some scheme in JSON and say, here's are like the functions available and so on. Choose the one that makes the most sense, and very simple, right?
And I think so. Yeah, you have an LLM connected to an MCP, and say you connect Claude Cursor to an MCP, and then you have standard agent which orchestrates a lot in code. I think what standard agent orchestrates a lot in code is because of what we provide out of the box, but there is nothing stopping you from generating a reasoning strategy that just connects to an MCP. Actually, we have somebody who's looking into that. It should be out soon. Um, so one is you offload a lot of your orchestration to the LLM. And the other one is you orchestrate a lot of your reasoning, all of that in standard agent. So if you wanted to really see and understand what or like how and have a lot more control and levers over why your agent behaves certain way, and if you wanted to insert business logic and all that, maybe you could lean a bit more towards having orchestration in code. But if you wanted to try and offload all of that into a big prompt and then let an LLM decide when to call a tool and then reason, then maybe you can go like a large prompt that powers an LLM with uh, tools attached to it. And to answer your other question, I think what is the difference between a chatbot and an agent? Results, yeah, this is also something that was discussed in the company. I think chatbot is something that you have to be there to converse with it. You have to be on the chat session. You talk to it. You like an agent, something that's it can not be like an augmentation. It can be something that just fades back into the background, goes and tries to execute the goal, comes back when it has. So it's not right there in your face. It doesn't. It's only there when you want it. It's only then there when it has to communicate to you or you have to communicate to it. So it doesn't tie you to a screen. Probably be what I think. I'd like to know your thoughts as well if you have any.
Well, what I say here in why standard agent and why not here working with LLMs is what I like about frameworks is that they provide direction, they provide some best practices, they provide a lot of standards. So you're Rishi all day checking out new developments in the space, publication, and so on. And someone who is not, let's say, breathing everyday agent code might not be aware of all that. So then it's a little bit like reinventing the wheel, where sure we can get some results, but on one side maybe those results are not up to date, they might not best in class, and then they might have a lot of challenges that so here the standard agent already identified, they already integrated into that. So I do feel that ultimately the value for those who are building agents are not on creating infrastructure, but rather is on creating applications, and then for that the standard agent helps significantly.
I totally agree. I think I mixed two of your questions in my head when I answered that question. So standard agent is something that you can totally write on your own if you wanted to. And it'd be great to see if somebody tried to do that, and if standard agent encouraged you to do that, that'd be great to see. I totally agree. Like standard agent was open source because we thought like one, this is code that you would write yourself. We just thought like we'll help people skip that step. Two, it's good to have a common code where people can contribute to. Another one is like you can absorb reasoning strategies. Every new frontier reasoning strategy that comes in, you try to make it as composable and easy to use as possible. So you should be able to absorb all these reasoning strategies into standard agent, and then have maybe an apples to apples comparison between different reasoning strategies working, and you still get to see and understand what the code does. So I totally agree with your points. Yeah, that is why standard agent exists. And yeah, just like it's between DIY and big frameworks. You don't have to
Yes,
always invent the same thing. Yeah,
yes, yes. And we have quite a question from the audience before we go into see look at the code. So
sure.
maybe go a little bit through them, and then we can do this deep dive, because I love to see here the code.
Yeah.
And so here is a question that so this person has been doing a lot of development around agents and MCP lately. And
Mhm.
obviously here at Agentic, so we work with agents every day and night. So how are we finding the changes to the specifications, for example, for MCP? It feels like it's evolving so quickly, almost like an aiming at a moving target. Do you share that impression, Rishi, that so here MCP and in general agents, everything's so new and so unclear that, yeah, there is nothing really set in stone?
Uh, do I feel the concept of agents and MCP is moving around? Is that the question?
Well, more than the concept, so just in general developing things for like MCP, for like agents and so on, that you start doing something. So let's say you start building an agentic application, but then 2 weeks later there are new changes to the specification, or new uh, theories, ideas came out, and you say, oh no, I need to change a lot of things in my logic, in my code.
Oh yeah, I think yeah, fundamentally because the space is changing so fast, and all of that, it's hard to have like a pulse on everything that's going on, and it may be hard to keep up. But I believe MCP is trying to solve a problem, that is to have standardized ways for agents to interact with tools. So it ideally shouldn't change a lot, because you would want to have a solid foundation to build on. And I think the concept of agents and what agents should be doing is it's not moving around, just probably just the way they are doing things is moving around. But these are my personal opinions, and I may not be right. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And another thing, so here is so about the real world use cases for the standard agent. So before we get into that, so we can see it in live, maybe you can start showing us here, Rishi, how it looks. So the repository, starting where can we find standard agent? So someone says, sounds good.
Yes.
Where do I go now?
Let me try and share my screen. And share screen. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can you? Can you see the?
So we'll add it. Yeah. So here.
Yes. So where can you find standard agent? You can find standard agent on GitHub. This is our repo. It's open source, so feel free to download, change, modify. Uh, so this is standard agent. You can just search for Gentic standard agent, and it should take you directly to this page. And do you want me to give you a quick walkthrough of standard agent?
Yes, please. So here,
Sure. Yeah.
what are like if I want to get started, then what's the first thing that I should do here? Appreciate
Yeah. First obvious thing would be to read the README. So when you go to the
important.
README, yeah,
Yeah.
you'd see like the quick start. You'll see a small diagram. This is what I was talking about. So 4 core components: LLM, reasoner, memory, and tools. They'll have a small write-up about standard agent, how we keep saying it's simple, and it deliberately tries to be simple. And there are some quick installation steps. So you just clone, you just run make install and activate your virtual environment. And then we provide some few examples for you to play around with, so that you can have like a working version in like say less than 10 minutes. And so yeah, before you start, you'd probably want like a .n file, which I can show an example of. So you probably, so if you go into .env example, you can see like we have provided placeholders for most of the major LLM providers, like an OpenAI API key, Gemini, Anthropic. If you want different ones, you can add that. Because we use light LLM, you can see what light LLM provides. So you can just go and see like all of these are light LLM provided LLMs. So light LLM is just what routes our requests from standard agent to light LLM. So you have Azure, Anthropic, SageMaker, Mistral, so many. Yeah, I don't want to go through all of these. So you find your model name from there, and you paste the model name in here. And there are other like variables that you can set, and they should be self-descriptive because we have tried to give 2-line comments on top. And then this is the Gentic agent API key. So if you wanted to see how an agent connected to a lot of tools like through Gentic would work, you would want an agent API key. Maybe it's best that I show how to get an agent API key now. Or
Would
do you
be a
want me
good
to?
idea. Yes, would be a good idea because I'm sure that not everyone has seen Gentic before or is
Yeah,
aware how to do that. So where do we go and get an API key here, Rishi?
sure. Yeah. So just like how you suspect, you go to gentic.com and then you log in. You can see. So I'll log in with myself. So should be set up. So first thing that I would want is like, so you have two concepts in here. Like one is an API integration, one is an agent. So you have to say, for example, if you wanted your agent to interact with Gmail or like calendar, you would want to go in and find an integration for Gmail. And Gentic makes it really easy for you. So you click on the APIs and then you just go add APIs and then you just search for what you want. So I have Google APIs here. If I wanted GitHub, I have GitHub here. So yeah, maybe I can just walk through how to add. So you can see, you can give a display name, you can give a description, you can choose your authentication method based on what's available for Gmail. We have OAuth. So you need to set up a Gmail Google app and then paste in your client ID and secret. I'll show you, and then you select the scopes and then you just hit connect. I'll show another one just for comparison. So if you go GitHub, you can come in, and then this one has a HTTP bearer token. So you just paste in your bearer token, give it a name and all that. So you should have your integrations in place then. So here you can see I've added Google Sheets, GitHub, Calendar. There's one called Star Wars Fund Translation. I've added that. 11 Labs, Jira, Discord, New York Times, and all that. So once
Yes.
you've added your API, you would want to give your agents access to those APIs. So here I've created, I'll show you how to create an agent. So you go and then I'd say Google Assistant, and like you can give it a descriptions like Google Suite Handler, and then you can search. So this list displays all the integrations that you have enabled, and I can just try and pick the ones that I want, like so Gmail sheets and calendars, and I create an agent which will give you the API key, and this is the API key that you need to provide here, which is Agentic agent API key. So that is how you get Agentic agent API key, and you have other optional parameters in here. Would you like me to walk through each of them, or is this fine?
I said that before that. Let us go into the examples, right? Because there's so many things to cover, and then we
Okay.
have about a half an hour left in today's session. So
Yeah.
one of the questions that we hear from the community, it is around examples, real use cases. You also have in here the repository. I can see an examples folder. So maybe you can show us what can we do with the standard agent, Rishi. So I don't know if you have something live that we can hear, see it in practice, maybe already something running.
Oh yeah, I can show you. Before that, I can
Fantastic. Yes.
tell you what these mean. I can first maybe show a CLI based agent, and then I can show a Slack integration and Discord. And yeah, I can maybe just show a Slack integration. Probably be easier to show and then explain. I'll just grab my terminal from the other screen that I have. This is just, yeah. Cool. I'll just make sure my, yeah. So
Yes, and while you're here preparing everything, so a bit of a recap. So for everyone who just joined us, so here we're today with Rishi. We are discussing about the standard agent, which is an open source library from Agentic that allows basically almost anyone to create agentic applications very easy. If you know some Python, you can get started. And if you already know other frameworks, a benefit of the standard agent it is that it is less heavyweight. It is more flexible. It is more nimble, and that allows everyone to basically create something without too much code. We also have discussed about, for example, the differences between an agent, business agents, standard agents. We've also been talking about when do you need Gentic for the standard agent, when not. Is basically you always need Gentic for a standard agent. There's here a very strong synergy between both. But now, so what we're looking at is how to get started, and not only that, but also real-world examples of the standard agent. So, Rishi, let us know when you're when you
okay,
have started. But
I,
if you still need more time, then I can answer some questions from the audience. So let me know.
I think I'm ready now. I just want
Perfect.
to
Let's
show.
just go
Yeah.
ahead. Yes.
I'm so what I did in the background is I just set my agent API key, which is secrets.
Yes.
That's why I didn't want to share the screen while setting that. So I've set it to this AI Tinkerer's agent, which is something that I used the other day for a demo. So I have enabled it with like New York Times and Google Suite, like Google APIs and all that. So I've set that as the Agentic Agent API key, and what I did is I just like in the README, I enabled my virtual environment, and then all I had to run was just Python examples, ReWOO API agent key. So first I'd ask it a simple question, say find NYT articles on, say, so you get to see how the standard agent logs things, like, so you get to see this is a ReWOO based agent. So we have provided out of the box two reasoning strategies. One is ReWOO, another one is React. And the main difference is ReWOO plans before you go ahead and try and execute. So you have a detailed plan, which you get to see here. So like my question, find New York Times articles on Trump, was decomposed into say 3 steps. Search New York Times articles about Trump. So this is tool use step. Another one is extract article titles and URLs from search. That is a reasoning step. And then the last one is just return. And then it also chains inputs and outputs. And you can see it work its way through and try and integrate. So it got its results back.
Rich,
Uh-huh.
right now we only see here the screen of like here Gentic with different APIs. So
Oh, okay.
I yes,
Oh,
and
maybe I'll reshare again. Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
yes,
Is
and
there a
and,
way?
and also around that, we have a question here if we can, for example, use standard agent for let's like trading for like finance applications. Maybe if we can like have some trading algorithms and we can like here connect standard agent. Have you seen those cases? Is that realistic, or you say no, this is too different?
No, we have somebody who tried that, and what
Hmm.
I would suggest is like we had an internal hackathon when people were trying to find different trading information, and then just uh, get standard agent to create
Yes.
uh, like actions on them. Uh, so what I would say is like if you wanted, you should. Standard agent is meant to be hacked, so just play around with the prompts, change what is not working for you, stick to what is working for you, have fun. Like it should. That's its purpose. So you should be able to fine tune it to what you want it to do. Do you want me to run this again, or can I just explain? Uh,
I said you can explain it, and just to answer the question of the user again. So
oh yeah.
as I understood this, you're saying yes, it's possible to use standard agent for finance applications for like trading,
Uh-huh.
and actually you already had it on the hackathon, right? Like people were building a, so here trading agents or during the hackathon internal one, right?
And yeah, you have to build. So standard agent is a library. So whatever you want about that, like layers of security, layers of prevention. Say if you don't want it to execute a trade below a particular uh, price point, you can layer that on top of standard agent. But standard agent gives you the control of reasoning. So you can layer whatever you want on top of standard agent, fine tune it to your custom needs, and then so it also shows what it does. So it should give you total control. So yes, fine tune, hack, and modify standard agent into whatever form you want, and it should work. Yeah. Do I get back to the CLI example now, or do you want me to?
Yes. So basically now what are we first what are we seeing here in the screen, so Rishi? So we
Oh
just see
yeah.
now the terminal. What's happening here?
Do you think it'd be easier if I just rerun this again so that people
Okay.
have
Yes.
see an
Let's do
interactive
that.
one?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to run standard agent CLI ReWOO API agent. So I'll just start and then I'll give it a goal. So it's asking me for a goal. And uh, yeah. So I gave it the goal, find New York Times articles on Trump. So I started the ReWOO API agent. So we provide two reasoning strategies out of the box. One is ReWOO, the other one is React. I know I'm repeating, but just in case somebody missed. ReWOO, the main difference is ReWOO plans before it tries and executes the goal. So it has a detailed plan on how to get to the goal. So which you can see here now. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. So this is the plan that it created, which is like it decomposed my high level goal into 3 steps. That is search for New York Times articles about Trump. So this will translate to a tool call because it has to interact with the New York Times API that I've enabled through Gentic. And then you need another one that is extract relevant article titles and URLs from the search results. So that's a reasoning one. So based on the results that you get, the LLM will extract all of this and then finally just tries to format into a readable summary. Uh, and then you can also see input output keys, that is like how it changes inputs and outputs from different steps. You can also see like parameters it generated to interact with the tool. And finally here you see the results. So you can see the top 10 results, like the article title. You can also see the query and all that. Sorry, not the URL. This is the ReWOO agent working. So this should be very straightforward to set as once you have an agentic agent API key and an LLM key, this should be less than 10 minutes, maybe less than 5 minutes of work here. Um, And we also provide another reasoning strategy called React, which is it's more responsive and adaptive. It just takes one step, sees where it is, and responds to it, like how it observes the environment. So we believe that the reasoning strategies fall on a spectrum, and one end you have like an implicit one like React, where it reacts to steps that it takes. The other end you have like an explicit one like ReWOO, where it plans and then just tries to get through its plan, more structured, more tries to be more efficient. uh, yes, would you like me to show you the Slack agent now?
Yes. So here, what we're looking at is that the standard agent basically here's a command line tool, so anyone can use that, right? And then
Yes,
in this case, it was grabbing articles, right? And then these articles, for that, I needed the an API that I got it from gentic.com
yes,
in order for my standard agent to be aware of that and grab it, correct?
that is
And
correct.
then in some people are maybe like a bit afraid of working with so command line tools and working as well with so here's just pure code. Is there something that is more, let's say, user interface is more like user friendly for those who are not pure developers?
We do have something that's a lot less intimidating, so I can try and start that up. So what I'm going to do now is like, so we provide Discord and Slack integrations for standard agent out of the box. So I'll just start
Yes.
the Slack agent, and just give me 1 second. I need to bring my, and before I show all of that, like what you can do is, if you look at inside the examples, you'll have the Slack folder, and then you'll have a README. This will give you all that you need to set up the Slack agent that I'm just going to show you now.
Mhm.
And so 1 second, I just need my work Slack to, yeah. So work Slack. So this is, uh, I've created a work buddy channel. So I have standard agent deployed on that. And how I interact with standard agent is, uh, I can say standard agent, and then I give it a goal. I can also switch between reasoning strategies, like say, because we have ReWOO and React, I can just switch saying, actually, you need to have the slash command. Oh, standard agent, reasoner, React. So what I just did there is switch from ReWOO to React because it started in ReWOO reasoning strategy. What I can do now is I'll try and give it a goal based on the agent capabilities it has, but agent capabilities are powered by Agentic, and all you have to do is add integration. So find what my latest unread email in is about, check Gmail. So what I want it to do is try and go into my Gmail and then see what the last unread email is about. You can see it, try and it didn't create a plan this time. I'll just try and create, get through the reasoning, and then even if it like in between fails, it will try and reflect and
Yes.
recover, which is built into standard agent, which makes it a lot more resilient.
And well, it's person as well, Roshi. We have some questions from the community. One is, how many times was the LLM called in this example for the ReWOO reasoning process? So is there a way we can see it, or maybe like a rule of thumb, or maybe you know already the answer?
Yes. So for the ReWOO one, I would say, so you can't have a fixed number, but you can have a rough uh, idea on how many. So the ReWOO one would be, first there would be an LLM call to plan, then there would be an LLM call to classify each step, and then if a step is reasoning, it's just another LLM call. Uh, if it's a tool call, then you need to generate the parameters. So maybe one plan, and per step you can have either one or two LLM calls. But if it fails, it tries to recover a couple of times. So that might be additional LLM calls, but you have a cap on that. It's not like unbound, which you have total control over. So the default is two. So if it fails, it tries to recover twice. And if not, it will just give up. Does that answer the question? So there is, you with ReWOO, you can have a rough estimate, but you'll always have an upper bound. So it'll not go more than like say 20, 25 based on a number that you said. Like you can set maximum iterations in the code.
Yes. And for those who don't know, what is ReWOO and what are alternatives? So what are we here talking about, Rishi?
Oh yeah, yeah. So ReWOO is a reasoning strategy. So think of it like how the LLM or the agent thinks. ReWOO is like a meticulous planner. So it tries to project and understand the goal and then create a detailed plan, and then each step is then executed one by one. Uh, so that is ReWOO, which is on one end of the reasoning strategy spectrum. It is explicit. On the other end, you have React, which is like the name suggests, it's more reactive to steps that it takes. So um, it takes a step, sees where it is, reacts to where it is by observing its environment or like whatever information it got back. So that is ReWOO and React, and those are just different reasoning strategies. And Standard Agent is built in a way that new reasoning strategies, when they come in, can be easily absorbed into the library. And you should try and do that. It's a good research bed for trying out different reasoning strategies like tree of thought, LATs, and so many out there. And you can have different flavors of whatever you want. You don't have to go full ReWOO, full React. You can have a mix of both.
Mm. Mhm, mhm.
I'll just try and see. Yeah. So this is the last email because I use LangFuse. They've tried to send me a LangFuse email. So this is what my latest unread email is in Gmail. Do you want me to show that to you? If just so that I'm not lying.
Yes, so here what we're seeing is
Uh-huh.
we are on Slack, and then inside Slack we have loaded the standard agent, correct? So it's basically like another chatbot
That is
tool in
correct.
Slack,
Yeah.
and and,
So
and then mhm,
we have installed Standard Agent as an app in
mhm.
Slack. So you get to see down here, and then you can see details and all that. So that is a standard procedure when, just like how you would integrate GitHub in Slack, for you to be able to use GitHub with Slack or Jira with Slack, we provision the tools and required information for you to install Standard Agent as an app in Slack, and that is how I get to interact with Slack, Standard Agent with on Slack like this. So how you would go about, so what you can do is I'll just show and create new demo channel. Oh yeah, wait, let me just try and create a new channel, demo channel. Demo channel. And then what you would do is you can invite uh, Standard Agent. So now Standard Agent has joined your chat, and then you can also try and configure Standard Agent with whatever key you want using Standard Agent. Sorry, I should have shown you this before I started with the question. So if you just go config, yeah, Standard Agent, it's configure. It'll pop up an agent API key, and you can just paste in your API key from Agentic here, and Standard Agent will be configured. So if you wanted to switch between agents, this should let you do that as well. I just already had the setup in the other one because WorkBuddy is something that I use at work. So I just want to skip all that. So this is how you would get Standard Agent to work with Slack. And all of this should be in the Slack bot example README in the repo. So you should be able to replicate all of this, and all of the commands. You have detailed description of all of them. Yeah. And
And
does that answer your question?
yes, and also we have so many questions from the community, so that it even sounds like we'll need a second session so for the standard agent at some point, because
Okay.
questions keep coming and sound super exciting. And so one here is about how do a reasoner and the LLM interact exactly? Is the reasoner completely deterministic Python code, or is the LLM called as part of the reasoning process? If so, is there a way to mock the LLM calls for development and testing so that we can save tokens?
Yeah. So I'll answer them part by part. So one is 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 the reasoning strategy handled in code, or is it handled as a prompt in LLM? That's what I understood. I can just quickly show you. So if you go into agents, this is something that I wanted to show in the AMA as well. So if you look at the agents, you can see, if you go into the standard agent.py, you'll see the four components that I talked about. One is the LLM, the brain, tools, memory, and reasoner. So just like we would have a reasoner folder. You can see React and ReWOO. As of now, we handle the orchestration in code. So if, for example, if you look at ReWOO, you can see that it first tries to plan, and then you get a plan, and then for each step in the plan you try and execute it. And sorry, and when you see inside execute, you just, what you first try to do is try to classify the step as like a reasoning step or like a tool call. If it's a reasoning step, you call an LLM. If not, you try to select a tool using Agentic and generate params and then execute. So all of the code should be very intuitive and very easy to learn, understand. So yes, the ReWOO that I showed is orchestrating the reasoning strategy in code, but you could also try and make an LLM. Say the React one, you can really try and make an LLM, emulate that. Like just ask the LLM to just bash its head on and try and get to the goal as best as it can. So that's in a way React. But the one that I showed is orchestrating all of that in code. When you orchestrate all of that in code, you also get a bit more of control, if that's what you want. Yeah.
And
Uh,
so, Richie, so for those who are interested in maybe like collaborating, contributing, and so on, is there like a roadmap of what's coming, how they can get involved? And also, like a broader question for that would be, how would you define success or the vision for a standard agent? How would you know, hey, the standard agent is following this vision and it's been a successful implementation of that vision?
oh, that's a good question. So you're asking what defines success for standard agent? Is
Yes,
that
as a project, exactly. Yes.
as a, yeah, yeah, I would say like standard agent would be successful if 2 years down the lane, if it's still open, simple, and understandable, but yet a lot more powerful than how it is now. It is a more realistic reflection of the agentic world when it's 2 years down the lane, but keeping things simple and understandable, which I think it's still a hard problem. And that would be something that I would think makes standard agent successful, because we wanted to show that you could have something that makes sense and have something that you can look inside and understand. And to answer the other question, that is like, what is the roadmap and all that? I'd say like a lot of research being absorbed in as reasoning strategies like CLADS, tree of thoughts, having a lot more memory strategies like RAG implementations, Redis implementation. Um, so yeah, that's what and standard agent being like a mechanical ready box, like I mentioned, like still take things apart and still make sense, like rather than you have a place for a smartphone in the world. Like when you take it apart and then you have very complicated things you don't understand, but it serves a different purpose. Standard agent maybe tries to be the mechanical radio, and it 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 promotes tinkering, it promotes hacking, it promotes curiosity. That's what I think, I believe would maybe classify standard agent as successful. If you ask me like a year later, maybe I'd give you a different answer.
And we have about like here a bit more than 5 minutes left for today. So here, Rishi. So maybe if you can show us. So now that we have also Hackoktoberfest, for those who do not know, we're participating with Standard Agent of Hackoktoberfest, which is this open source initiative where anyone can contribute to Standard Agent. And we have here some issues ready. We have everything for first-time contributors to get started. With that in mind, Rishi, maybe we can spend some minutes where you can show us So which things can someone include, add? What would you like to see that maybe is missing? In what you're seeing as contributions that you're liking and so on. So let's spend some minutes here, please.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you'd probably want me to say how should somebody try and contribute, right? Like,
Yes, exactly. So you can show us in the
uh,
code in areas where you say, hey, here, look at this. Maybe this is missing. This would be good to have.
mhm. And I would probably like to bring the attention to the end of the README first. That is, these are things that we think would be great for standard agent to have. We are a small team, but we'd like everybody to be uh, to contribute and become a bigger team. So when like build reasoning implementations, you have see what works. If you think something is not intuitive, just let us know. We'll try and fix it. If you have feedback, just try and like talk to us in our Discord, or like just create a GitHub issue. Redis, or like standard agent does not have persistent memory out of the box now. We would like to see a Redis or like a persistent memory implementation. Anything that implements mutable mapping is welcome. More examples, like see, like say for example, file system tools, like shell tools, like web tools. Any of all of that is welcome, no matter how small or how big. We accept all kinds of contribution feedback to standard agents. So this is where I would go for. And I would also like to bring your attention to the issues. So if you search for good first issues, we have many of them thanks to Rod. And you can see, you can pick any one of them and then try and contribute. We already have quite a few people contributing, which is great to see and very encouraging. So yeah, these are two places I would look for. And if you have any doubt, you can just drop us a message on Discord, and then we can try and help you find a good fit for you.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Great.
And
Yeah.
before I can, like, I know we are like short on time. Can I just show quickly two
Please,
things that I
yes.
think are
Mhm,
really important? So standard agent, it went into my Gmail, told me this is what's happening. So another question that everybody would have is like, how do I understand what goes wrong when something goes wrong? So standard agent comes with a very comes with OTel based observability. So, and it's optional. If you don't install it, it's a no op. So there's nobody forcing uh, code on anyone. So if you look at the code, whenever you see, it's very simple. If you wanted to add more observability, whenever you see something like at observe, what it does is it's just feeding all of this into telemetry backend. In this case, it's open telemetry based backends. We have out of the box implementation for LangFuse. I'll just quickly show LangFuse for you, and it's free. You can get on it. You can create a hobby project. I'm not paying for it. It's all free. You
mhm,
get traces and all that. This is where I would come and check how my agent is doing. So you can see like if it had any errors in its execution, it had to the same one find what my latest 100 email in Gmail is about. This is the one that I showed you in Slack. You can just come in, you can see all of the reasoning steps. So reasoner, it thinks and acts, and it can see it thinks and acts. There was an error when it tried to create parameters, and you can see final output. So a lot of people would be asking, would have this question in mind, like how much does it cost and all that. Based on the, you get a total tokens count here, so you can multiply that with whatever LLMs per token cost is. We might, and then figure out how much it costs to run uh, a goal through standard agent, and you can see where it's taking up most of the time. Uh, I think because it comes with an open source based observability platform, uh, which can be very handy in case you're trying to figure out what's going wrong, or like where it's doing right, like, or if you wanted to have a really good insight and peek into what standard agent is doing. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I just want to point that out because I think
mhm.
that's important.
Yes, and that's like a perfect time to basically wrap up. Where so we covered like a lot of ground here on standard agent, different strategies, use cases, the code, and there is so much more to discuss for sure. And it sounds a little bit like we need to do a follow-up session in a few weeks again, Rishi. So there was so much engagement from the community. But before that happens, where can people find you, and also how now they can get involved? Is the best way just to go to GitHub and open a another repository, but here an issue, maybe a PR, solve one of these that are in the list, or what would you advise here, and how to find you?
How to find me? You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Discord. I would say like maybe Discord in our Gentic server. Please join that, and then maybe we can have a standard agent channel or something where people can reach out generally for standard agent related questions, where me or anybody else in the team can help people find what they need, or like guidance and all that. So Discord, yeah, you can also create a GitHub issue because that's also visible. But I would say Discord probably be the first mode. Then yeah, GitHub. If you want to create an issue saying that something's not working for you, yeah, probably GitHub. You already know what you're doing. Yeah, just feel free to create a GitHub issue. Uh, yeah, be around. I'll be around to answer questions.
Perfect. So for everyone, just go to gentic.com to create an account, or github.com/gentic/standard-agent. And then there you can clone the repository, check all the issues, and basically get started. And also here, you're also on the Discord community on Gentic, Rishi, so anyone can come and also ask questions and maybe inquire, maybe ask any problems or challenges that they're having. And with that, we can finalize today's session. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Rishi, for being part today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Rod. See you.
Yes, and looking for everyone to see next week. We have it every Thursday, 4 p.m. Irish time. We have always fantastic guests, fantastic topics, terrific discussions. See you everyone next week.
See you. Bye bye.